Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Sever7 and today we're taking a look at the Civivi Hid. This came from the Lefty Pass-Around group. It was designed by Hell and the OEM is Civivi. So for starters, we've got these G10 scales on top of steel liners. We have a smooth texturing down here, and we have some actual texturing up here. It's like grid texturing. And then we've got contoured G10 going around the handle, which ergonomically makes it pretty fantastic. Plain hardware, steel wire pocket clip. It is reversible, so it is lefty friendly. And since it's a inset liner lock, you don't have to worry about the knife feeling different. You don't have to worry about putting too much pressure on the lock bar or anything like that. So it'll function left and right-handed as well. Now, talking about the ergonomics, I wear a large size glove. I have more than enough room in both directions. I can hammer fist it easily. I can choke back here, still full figure grip, and I have all this space up here if I need to get some power behind my chops. But I can also choke up pretty easily all the way up here. I have functional jimping, and I even have a little bit of jimping way up here for any sort of precision cuts that I need to do, right? Which is pretty fantastic. So a lot of thought went into, the user experience, right? Like, what are the applications for this knife? What's the user experience going to be? Things like that. Now, jumping into the blade, to me, this screams culinary every day of the week. This looks like a knife that I would put in my kitchen drawer, and I would pull out anytime I needed to chop up, anything. Mostly vegetables, I would imagine, like tomatoes, jalapenos, onions, whatever. Where we have this massive, what I would consider to be a sheep's foot blade. It's 14C28N, which means that it's going to have great corrosion resistance. It's going to be plenty tough, and it's going to be easy to sharpen, but it's also not going to keep its edge for a really long time. So anytime something says easy to sharpen, it's the same as saying low edge retention, right? But I could see this being used, even as a camp knife, right? You could even take this camping with you because of the toughness and the corrosion resistance. You just have to take a strop with you, right? Because you might have to strap it up if you're out there for a couple of days. You might need to strap it up towards the end. But we also have this nice semi-reflective finish to the blade. It is a flat grind. Would have been killer if it was a hollow. Really light billboarding. Well, I say light in general, but it's really not light for Civivi. Civivi typically doesn't have this on their blades, at least not that I can recall. And then back here we just have Hell design. Let's talk a little bit about the action. So we've got thumb studs, which work wonderfully. But we also have this nice long fuller. It doesn't protrude very much, so you don't get the most, you don't get the most purchase on it, but you can pretty easily flick it out. The first two times I think I caught the thumb stud with my finger, but you can pretty easily flick it out. Maybe not thumb on fuller, but reverse flick on fuller is easy, and then thumb and reverse flick on studs are easy. Now, they have this jimping here, right? And it is kind of even with the pivot. I'm not entirely sure if it was meant for this, but I can front flip it. Let me try it again. Of course, on camera. Every flip gets worse than the one before it. Okay, well, you at least saw me do it once, right? It can be front flipped. It just takes a little bit of practice. Actually, I think what's happening is that my dead skin is filling the jimping and it's causing it to be smooth. And that's why it's not catching. I think that's the case. Gross. Sorry about that. But as far as the action goes, this isn't anything super special, right? It's relying on the weight of the blade. So, of course, it's going to be drop shutty. It's not hard to deploy. It's just not the most satisfying thing to deploy. So, I mean, on the action, it's fine. If you like the knife, you can definitely fidget with it. But the acoustics aren't anything special. Yeah, I mean, it's fine, right? I'll say that. Like, it's not bad. It's not special. It's not great. It's just fine. Action, or the acoustics are fine. So, I really don't have a whole lot else to say about it as far as that stuff goes. It's really a basic knife. Now, as far as the sharpening life and the stop pin placement, the stop pin comes pretty far up. If you guys can see in there, comes pretty far up. I don't know what I would say. I guess it comes pretty far up the choil area. Like, the stop pin is hitting like right here. But that still gives you a tremendous amount of life to sharpen out of this blade. So I don't think, I mean, like, if you sharpen it to the point where the stop pin is impacting, or where your sharpening has impacted the interaction with the stop pin, then you've gotten your money's worth out of the knife, right? You have a tremendous amount of life to take off that blade. Dang it, there it is. Let's talk about specs. Overall length of this is 9.83 inches. Blade length is 4.14 inches. And the blade to handle ratio is coming in at 0.73. Anything above 0.7 is acceptable, but 0.8 is whenever we start to get that kind of Shirogorov 50-50 look. So that's what, that's what I like to see. And the weight is coming in at 5.2 ounces, which for the size of the knife, I don't think is bad. It is balanced pretty well too. So, I mean, you can manipulate this knife a lot easier than you would think because of its balance point, right? It maneuvers like a knife lighter than 5.2 ounces. It carries, I mean, it's wide, but it's flat, right? So it does take up room in your pocket, but with it being flatter, I mean, your cell phone could sit right next to it, and be fine. Like, this thing carries a lot better than I would have imagined, based on the size of knife that it is. Pocket clips, easy in and out. I mean, you could imagine it's a wire clip. Those are typically the most user-friendly clips out there. Let's do some size comparisons. Up against the milled aluminum Civivi Brazen. And we are coming in a heck of a lot bigger than the Brazen. Let's go ahead and do it up against the Real Steel Sylph. And we are dwarfing the Sylph by a huge margin. And I still cannot find the Migron Gotov. So instead, we'll use the Civivi Anaki that we just did a review on. And that is also getting dwarfed by the Hid. All right, so what's the damage? price-wise, this is coming in at 90 bucks. So do I think it's worth it for 90 bucks? It's going to be a split answer. You know, for general EDC and daily carry, I think you can find a million knives that are better suited for that at a much lower price point. Migron Gotov, for example. Or if you still want the 14C28N, there's plenty of offerings around that $50 or $60 range that have 14C28N. So no, for general EDC, no, I don't think this would be your first go-to. Not that it's overpriced, but just because there's so many options that are better than it. But for someone who wants, kind of a robust camping knife, or somebody that wants a knife specifically for culinary purposes, I think this is pretty fantastic for 90 bucks. Because you're getting 14C28N, you're getting an easy to clean G10 scale. It's tough, it's stainless. It's really going to be better for those more niche, not EDC scenarios. And I think for the right user, I think this is a recommendable knife. So it's not generally recommendable, right? I wouldn't tell people to go out and run out and get this. But for people that plan to go camping with it or cook with it, or people that just love the aesthetic and they want a massive knife for under $100, then I could see people picking it up for that too. But in those niche scenarios, then yeah, it's a good knife, especially with how light it is to carry, with how small the carry profile is compared to its actual size. So there's some bonuses with this knife. It's not my style aesthetically or functionally. I would say if it was my aesthetic, if they remade this knife, kept the blade and the dimensions all the same, but just remade it with like milled titanium and gave it a hollow grind, I would be obsessed with this knife. It would be like the only thing I'd ever carry. But they didn't. And I'm saying that to say that my bias is predominantly from the looks and the feel, right? The action doesn't feel premium. It doesn't look very premium. And to be fair, it's really not meant to. It's not trying to do that, right? But, at the end of the day, it's lacking the things that are most important to me in a knife. And, that's going to steer me away from it a little bit. So basically, if you're in those niche scenarios, or you like the look of this knife, then absolutely get it. You're getting a good knife, right? But if you're not going to use it for those niche scenarios and this look doesn't particularly strike you as your style, then I would say, look at Civivi's other knives, because they have pretty much any knife you could think of under their Civivi umbrella, and you will absolutely find something you love. The first thing that comes to mind is the Civivi Sokoke. Holy cow. I'll just leave it at that. I have a review on it. You can just type in Sokoke in the search bar and it'll pull it up. But, for me, if I did get this knife, which I probably wouldn't, it would be an everyday carry. It wouldn't be, a collection item. And let me know your thoughts. Is this something that you would everyday carry? Do you think its place is in the kitchen or camping? Or did this knife just miss the mark for you entirely? I'm really interested to read your thoughts below. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. And until the next time, guys, peace.